Hello, ladies, gentlemen, or whatever else you want to call yourselves. Yes, we're back. You can't get rid of us. We like the clap. So, Doku, talking about the clap, what do you want to say to us?
Oh, first off, it sounds like you have something to say to me there, sir.
Well, I gave you the clap. What's the problem?
There's a joke about a whiskey bottle there.
There is, isn't there? Or two cigarettes. Then again, hey, I'm not a person who likes to shove fags up. I'll just leave that there.
You thought I was going to be the first one to break the rule, but here we are.
I haven't sworn yet.
Fair enough.
Damn it. I'm British. I can say fag. Fag is perfectly acceptable for a British person to say.
It's just a bundle.
That's true.
It's just a bundle of sticks, right?
No, that's a faggot. A fag is a cigarette.
And do people normally use that term?
Fags, yeah. If you went out to buy a pack of cigarettes, you'd go out to buy a pack of fags.
It's a one-syllable word, so it's convenient.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never even thought about it that way, but that is a decent point.
We're lazy, dude. It's just so much easier to go, mate, I want to smoke. I'm going to go and have a pack of fags. And that's it.
Yeah, but the thing is...
Technically, there are rollies, which are roll-ups, and there are pre-mades. But end of the day, they're still fags.
But the thing is, you guys are supposed to be the posh ones. Like,
we are.
Fags just doesn't seem posh. Is it a Liverpool thing?
Actually, it is a northern thing, yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't even... Okay, well, that answers my question.
Yep. Right.
By the way, so for the record, we have somebody new on the stream. This is Tilo, is one of my best friends. I am dragging him into the Matrix. He will probably never escape. So, Tilo, hello. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to something a little bit new, a little bit different. What's up, dude? How you doing, man?
Hey, Jensen. Hey, Doku. Everyone listening in the present and the future. Nothing much. We're just going to talk about interesting things and, see where it goes.
See if you enjoy the absolute bull that we come out with. Yes, that's right. I'm still not swearing, Doku. Not long now. Halfway.
Keeping a watch.
Oh, I am. Trust me.
Well, in other aspects of life, we don't get to speak our minds. And so I find it really refreshing that we can hear. You know what I mean?
One thing I will say about any stream that I run, it is a free speech stream. I actually hold to the originator's idea about free speech, and you have the right to say whatever you like. The only reason we're doing this 5-minute thing is because YouTube and its infinite wisdom will not let us. And as I've said, don't ban us, Mazza. We just poor folks. There
you go. That's actually a really good point that you bring up, though. Even though we're supposed to be able to sit here and just sit around, talk, and everything, we still have to watch our words and watch what we say, because we know that YouTube will deboost us, shadow ban us, and do all this stuff for saying things that algorithmically they don't like. So even though we have this access to technology and this ability to communicate with each other, we really don't. Like, we're still under the thumb of tech, or
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, as Queen Susan might say things like, well, I don't like what you said, therefore I'm going to punish you for it. So we don't really have the type of free speech that we think we would due to social media, because I'm free to talk to you, but I'm not free to say what I want to say. And so it's more of an illusion.
And that's kind of one of the important parts, is the self-expression, right? To be able to speak from the heart, because that's where the good stuff comes from.
It's only once we hit the 5 minutes that the truth can finally come out. We can say how we really feel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fuck this shit. You can say what you like now.
Oh,
Bag
there
of
we go.
peanuts.
Oh, the real free speech comes out. Yeah, but how fucked is it that we actually have to sit here and keep a timer saying like, okay, we're past the 5-minute mark where the algorithm's not really going to pay attention to us anymore, so we can actually say what we want to say. Like, again, it's the illusion of free speech. Like, we have this wonderful fucking platform. Like, we can talk to people across the world. Like, me and Tilo over here, and we're talking to Jensen. You're halfway across the world. Yeah,
Yep.
I would never be able to have the chance to sit down and talk to you at the bar because we just don't. We live an ocean away, but we
Yeah.
still have to watch what we say. It's a fucking illusion.
I just want to point out, and I realise that YouTube is a private company, and so therefore it can change the rules as it feels. I understand the concept, but I thought you guys were supposed to be the land of the free, and YouTube is an American company.
Yeah,
happened,
well,
man?
we thought so too.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
Yeah,
We're
it doesn't
trying, man.
exist. It doesn't exist now. I mean, me and Jensen were talking about this earlier this morning, but you have J.K. Rowling that's more of a champion of free speech than anybody in the American left political sphere right now.
How does that feel?
Um,
Honestly, I would feel rather sick if I was you guys at that. She is actually free speech lady. Wow.
And she's ballsy about it too. Like,
Yeah.
the whole thing we were talking about earlier this morning. It's like, is this really the hill you want to die on? This is your legacy. And she's like, yeah, I stand up for women and girls being able to talk about their bodies any way they damn well please. So yes, this is the hill I will die on.
Man, and people are so short-minded. She wrote the Harry Potter series.
Yes.
I mean, that's a feat in itself.
Well, and Tilo, do you know the reason that they're pissed at her?
I can kind of gather, but fill me in.
So the whole reason that J.K. Rowling has become the subject of vitriol and outrage is because in her mind, women are women. They have ovaries. They give birth. So she's not on the whole like LGBTQIA whatever plus.
BBC and ITV. Yeah, we know the rest.
There you go. But yeah, she's not on board with that. In her mind, men are men, women are women. And she talks about things from a biological standpoint, not about identity or gender identity or anything like that. And this has now made her what is known as a TERF, or a trans exclusionary radical feminist. In other words, she doesn't think trans women are actual biological women, which, if you're talking from a biological standpoint, she kind of has an argument there. But
Yeah,
I'm not.
well, I mean, there's so much I could say about this. For example, when a person goes under anesthesia, right, their gender matters because the drugs will impact their bodies differently, right? An anesthesiologist is going to give a woman a different amount of whatever it is to put them to sleep than they would give a male.
Yep. Doku, you might
Same
enjoy
way.
this one. Did you know that they will actually now do prostate exams on men? You know what I mean by cough cough men, don't you?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
biologically that
Yep.
doesn't.
No.
To
They
check
will
for
also.
hernias or what?
Yes. Yes.
Even though they
They
don't
will-
have testicles?
Oh, you think that's bad? You can actually get
Oh my
tampons for women.
Yeah, Tilo, bro,
Dude,
know,
you guys
don't know
are
how
in deep.
wild-
You weren't kidding. You guys are in deep.
Oh, it's
yeah,
bad.
dude, we kind of have to be though. Like this is what's shaping our society. Me and Jensen were
Well-
talking about this earlier, but
This is the extreme. Yeah.
well, so I would like to pick your brain on this one, Tilo. And
Okay.
what me and Jensen were saying earlier this morning, it's in regards to my least favorite term right now, normalize. I still hate that term. So if you're trying to normalize something, by definition, the underlying definition of what you're trying to do is you're trying to take something that is abnormal and you're trying to make it normal. If these individuals that are trying to make these things normal, the human race doesn't have a future. We're going to devolve. We're going to digress. We're going to have a less prosperous future because we're denying that which makes us human. That makes us prosperous. We're trying to fly in the face of that, and all for the sake of what? If you want to teach tolerance and acceptance, empathy, sympathy, that's fine. That's one thing. But if you try to force everyone down that path, I mean, where does that path lead? I don't see it leading anywhere good.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's an attack on basically the book of Genesis, the fact that we're made in God's image and the rules that God laid out for us to live by, and not only to live by, but to prosper because we live by them. That's basically what it is. It's an attack on God's fingerprint on humanity. So the further that this extreme group can get us away from God's rules and understanding of our own creator, they'll allow more, destruction and chaos into society. And I'm not really sure what the purpose of that is, but it seems to be that the effect is just pure chaos. So
Fair. There is the suggestion, and I really do put stress on that they're actually doing it to actually reduce the number of humans there are on the planet. Apparently, a lot of the left truly believe, what was it, 1 million people?
Oh yeah, you're talking about that came from the Georgia Guidestones, where there's supposed to be no more than, what was it, like 5 million or 50 million people on the planet?
No, there has to be an absolute barest minimum 100,000 people. Anything above that is just extra.
Okay, so I'm not even aware of that one, but I know there was the talk about the Georgia Guidestones, and something there said that there should never be any more than like 5 million people on the planet, and some people actually took that to heart. And I know Temple was talking about it on one of his streams just a couple of days ago, and the question becomes, all right, so there's supposed to be no more than 5 million people on the planet. What do you say to the 5 million and first? How do you decide who goes bye-bye?
A click, bang.
Well, and so
That's
again,
exactly what you do.
Well, and so who gets to decide that? And who gets to decide who? I mean, this is a very dangerous type of mindset.
In all fairness, mate, for what, if we're going to go to the minimum number of people, I tell you what, let's take it to a mere million, okay? As a base number. You would have to set up some sort of ruling council to be in charge to actually assist the other people, which means this ruling council will genetically be the leaders, which means their children, etc., will probably end up as the leader because human nature is to. I know America has got this thing about we don't bend the knee to no one, which is kind of funny given what goes on nowadays. But yeah, I was going to say that.
it's all right. It's kind of true. I mean,
it is what it is. That the leaders are going to dictate who is allowed to breed. And if there's a maximum number that will be allowed to breed, you're going to have the Chinese one-child rule occur very quickly.
Oh, and that kind of... Sorry.
Do one last thing. Up to and including, they may well actually neuter people so as they can't breed.
Oh, and so this is what I find kind of disturbing, and it makes me wonder, why would you put power in the hands of people that don't necessarily have your best interest at heart? Like, to elaborate on that, I guess, if I came to you and say, I'm going to do good by the whole, I'm going to take Jensen's considerations into, or Jensen's interest into considerations. I'm going to take Tilo's interest into considerations. I'm going to take Sharadi's interest into consideration. I'm going to take Epileptic's interest into consideration. And I'm going to decide, like, well, Sharadi, nah, sorry. I'm going to side with Tilo, Jensen, and Epileptic. Or Epileptic, sorry, I'm going to side. Like, why would you put that power into the hands of somebody else who can just turn around and say, nah? Like, I would much rather be in control of my own life and do what I think is right. I wouldn't want to put that power into the hands of somebody else. That to me, just that sort of like submission is
Yeah, I think I
terrifying.
I think I have the start to the answer on this one.
Okay,
Um,
go for it.
the majority of people, even though they want to think that they are leaders, they're not. They want a safe environment where they can just exist and they don't have to make a whole lot of difficult decisions. Deep down, I think that's what most people really want. And to hear someone, especially politicians say, hey, we're going to do this for you. We're going to make this safer. We're going to make your life better in this way. And people hear that and it kind of hits a chord with them where they resonate, and they want that safety. They want that acceptance. But I'd say about maybe 10% of the population actually are critical thinkers, and we don't yearn for safety. We yearn for purpose or answer, right? And so I think that's kind of why things may go that way.
One tiny, I'm not disagreeing with you. In fact, I actually agree with you. There's one teensy little problem that should be pointed out. That means you become the other. And when there is only a maximum number of people left that are allowed to be on the planet, well, you with your new ideas that are no longer following the grand and glorious leader, well, perhaps you don't need to breed. Perhaps you don't need to breathe. Perhaps you don't need to be. After all, it's all for the greater good. Isn't that right, Doku?
Oh, and that's something we've talked about quite a bit, but maybe not in detail. So I guess let's go down that rabbit hole. When you do have the majority of the population, is what Tilo is saying, is they don't necessarily value uh, freedom or the ability to do what they want to do. They value safety over everything else, and they're willing to give up that freedom so that
Yeah.
other people can make their decisions for them. Then that if you're not willing to go along with that because you are that 10%, you become enemy number one, which makes you the top of the list for persona non grata. You are the first person they will get rid of. And you're really just by thinking critically and by valuing your own freedom, valuing your own ability to make decisions for yourself rather than putting it into the hands of other people, you have made yourself enemy number one. And that's why this is so dangerous, because we might not have the ability to decide, hey, you do you, I'll do me. And no, the people that are doing them, the first thing that the them are going to do is come after you because you're not doing what the them are doing. You doing you is a threat to the rest. And you are an enemy to the state. You're an enemy to the people. They will get rid of you first because you're a threat to power.
He's right. Unfortunately, I'm sad to say that is most likely what will happen.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
I mean, but that's why this is so terrifying, is because there's a lot of people who are willing to sacrifice everything just for that promise of freedom. Whether it exists or not is irrelevant. As long as
Yeah,
they
it's
believe.
an illusion, right? At the end
Well,
of the day, safety, if you really think about it, is an illusion. It's our
Yeah,
own perception of our surroundings, and we convince ourselves that we're safe, or sometimes we convince ourselves that we're unsafe. But in either case, it's can be inaccurate. I mean, we just don't know what's around the corner. Anything can happen. And so this feeling of safety is an illusion.
and so that's the thing. Like, if I came up to you and said, hey, uh, I'm the guy with the spear, I can keep you safe. You don't know me. You don't know my motivations. You've never met me before, but I can show you that I have a spear and I can kill a wolf. So you should trust me. I promise I will keep you safe from the wolves.
There,
Is there any guarantee that I'm actually not going to use that spear and turn it against you? Hey, wouldn't you rather be the person with the spear and say, no, I know how to use a spear too. I'll keep myself safe. I don't need you.
Yes, unless I am incapable with a spear.
Okay,
If I'm, you see what I'm saying?
oh yeah, that's a fair point. So yeah, I guess there are aspects where certain people in society can't defend themselves and they have to rely on other people. And it's kind of a precarious position to be in, but that's not the majority of the whole. If you're talking about the majority of people as a whole, most people can use a spear. It, if you're the one or
Can they?
2%, well, if you're the 1 or 2% of population that can't, I would argue that if we're in a position where you actually do have to pick up the spear and defend yourself, those who can't use the spear, those who can will defend them. They will circle around them, and because they're still part of the collective whole. But that's not because we're relying on those people. It's because collectively as a whole, we seek that type of defense. When you take away that the person that's promising this thing, it's like, I'm going to teach everybody how to use a spear, but I'm going to keep all the spears. No, if everybody has the spear, we will defend each other. That's just how we are. That's how we're wired as individuals. We are tribalistic in that sense. We are very animalistic in that sense.
I disagree with you. And the reason I disagree with you is your concept is actually perfectly valid at the beginning of a air quotes society. That you will get people that don't want to, stroke, can't be bothered, stroke, are incapable of using the spear, at which point they will join in with the person with the greatest charisma or at least cult of personality. And this is why you've got society that you've got nowadays. They will actually go to that person. We will give you our vote if you protect us. How does that sound? Oh, that sounds good. Turns around to the others. Well, there's 20 of me and like 5 of you. Who wants to join my team? At least one of that other team probably likely to join him. Or if not, they'll both be so scared that the other one's going to join him. They won't think to work together, which is the more logical thing to do. They will actually join him, and suddenly now it's 15 versus 5. 5 become the other, and again we go back to my point of, and we get rid of the other. That's why I'm disagreeing with you, mate. Please tell me I'm now wrong.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but don't you think the majority of people? Well,
okay,
if we
I'm
were
actually
starting
going to
off
make it
at
easier
stage,
for both of you. Stop being American, okay? Stop looking
well,
at
so
it
if we
with
were starting off at stage 1,
yes.
then I would believe that the majority of people would look at that and say no, because they still have the spear. I think we're at the point in time at a stage in society where most people have never had to pick up a spear. They don't know how to use a spear. Half of them don't even know what it looks like. So if I came to you and said, "Hey, you don't need this spear. It's fine. I'll take up the spear. You can just stare at the clouds and chew bubble gum and
I think, I think we're getting to something interesting here, that maybe this is the first time in human history where, so to speak, we haven't had to use spears. And because we haven't had to use spears, we're finding purpose in other aspects. Like, we need to do something, we need to have some sort of direction. And
Well,
everybody feels that way. Even the ones that aren't capable of using the spears, they need something. And so we've developed all these, how do I want to say, false perceptions, to go back to the whole like man woman thing, just to make ourselves feel purposeful, because we never picked up a spear.
Well, do you think because of that, because we've basically had this cushy lifestyle where we've never had to pick up a spear, we've never had to defend ourselves, we've never had to defend somebody else, but because things have gotten so far to the extreme that we're realizing the ones who are promising us all these things, the ones who are promising us that they'll pick up the spear and use it to defend us, and seeing what they do, that we're actually realizing, yeah, you guys are actually kind of full of shit. I'd rather just have my own spear and tell you to kindly but firmly go fuck yourself, and I'll do it my damn self. Are we hitting that point in society where we recognize that there's a lot of false promises, a lot of people who are basically playing on our fears and our insecurities and using it for their own personal gain, and at least a significant amount of people have woken up to that, to the point where we're rejecting that sort of, false promise of safety and prosperity?
Yeah, so it has to break. You have to experience hardship. And people who don't or haven't experienced hardship can cling to those false perceptions. Like, I'll give you an example. Um, I met a girl recently who, holds progressive liberal views. And I believe she can hold these views because she doesn't pay for anything. Her parents pay for everything. She doesn't, have a whole lot of responsibility. She's in medical school. She does one thing seemingly well, but she doesn't have a whole lot of hardship, and she doesn't have to explore, why is this happening? Because she's not involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
So until people experience that hardship, they're not going to wake up. They're not going to put two and two together because they don't really have to.
Fair. Doku, your theory, the thing you're suggesting, okay? Yes, you have the spear, but it's just you, okay? Let's say you bring some other people along with you that also know how to use spears. Cool. And what happens when Bob down the road brings his 20 people with spears and says, join us?
And see, that's actually how we got to this point, is
Exactly.
and so, but my question is, when Bob and his group of 20 aren't doing anything for me, and I can't be the only person, there has to be at least a couple of people within that group that realize, whether they actively acknowledge it, or they realize it subconsciously, or if they realize it through the fact of the matter, I'm only getting 2 potatoes instead of the 4 that I was getting a week ago. And people are going to eventually, given enough time under bad leadership, or under just unrealized hardship, because they think things are good, because they've been told things are good. You can only go along with that for so long until you realize things actually aren't good.
I agree with you. Now, can I wreck it with one tiny little thing? Explain Biden based on your argument.
So the best way I ever had it explained to me is, and I quote, every generation needs their own Jimmy Carter. And I think that's a really profound statement, even though it sounds simple. So essentially what it means is, with all the promise of safety, prosperity that you could possibly give somebody under poor and bad leadership, because if you let things go on long enough, that it will eventually become, from something that was once prosperous, will suddenly become not prosperous. And there is a proverbial breaking point where even the most common person who is not paying attention can't help but realize that things are not as good as they once were. And you have to start asking yourself the question, why? And you start coming to these hard, very difficult answers. And when more and more people start asking themselves, how did we get here? Well, they'll start analyzing things when normally they would just be sitting around on the couch eating chicken wings, watching the football game, and doing this and that. Suddenly that becomes not an option because the chicken wings are twice as expensive, the power is going out. I mean, the real question becomes, how far can you push the society until society breaks and starts questioning, are we really under good leadership, and do our leaders really have our best interest at heart? And to answer your question, Jensen, to explain Biden, it's because things were so prosperous that we were concerned about mean tweets and somebody who was not presidential and we just didn't like them. So we're going to vote against it, not because the opposition had any real answer to any problems, but because we were prosperous enough that we had no problems. So we put people in positions of power that it basically made life worse for us.
It's almost like there's this human innate need to have issues. And if we don't have issues in our lives, we create them. Well, most people.
Fair. No, fair.
So, yeah, so that's, I think, what happened with the last presidency with Trump is that things were so good. Things were so good. They had to make stuff up. They had to make things up to be upset about and create drama.
I mean, yeah, that is one aspect, and I do believe it is fundamentally that we were, as you said, Tilo, like we were, and as Wood says very accurately in the chat, things were so good that people were worrying about shit that doesn't really matter. And that really does sum it up right there. We had things so good that we were concerned, that we were concerned about shit that doesn't really matter. But as soon as you see gas prices triple and it really starts affecting your pocketbook, like how much food can I really put on the table? How far can I drive because of the price of gas? Am I concerned about my children going to war? Am I concerned about me being drafted and going to war? Now all of a sudden things become very real.
Yeah.
And
we're
that's
about
stuff
at
you
that
can't
point,
ignore.
I'd say. I mean, it's getting there.
Well, and that's the thing. You can't ignore that. Like, under Trump, love him or hate him, I really don't care. But under Trump, things were not this bad. But now that we have our proverbial Jimmy Carter, things are not good. And you can't ignore that without being delusional. And
or like, kind of hidden from hardship by your parents, perhaps, right? Or welfare programs.
Well, again, that's the thing. We've been sheltered, whether it's through our parents, whether it's through the government. Like, let's say if it's from your parents are probably well off. They've probably have money saved up. They have the ability to take care of you, even if you are the proverbial basement dweller, neckbeard. Or if you're not, and you've had to go through a life of hardship, you've had the government or Big Brother to sit there and take care of you. Like, you've had someone to pick you up. Well, what happens if the government starts failing? What happens when prices start going up and there's no one there to, hold your hand or pick you up while you're down? I mean, again, what happens when all the spears break or the people who are holding the spears suddenly decide that they're not going to defend you?
Yeah, you know what happens?
Can you hold a spear? Can you defend yourself?
Exactly. And more importantly, can you make a spear?
Exactly. And I think we're reaching that point where people are starting to realize I've had all these people, that I could always rely upon, that I can lean upon, whether it come thick or thin, whether it's, whatever happens, I knew that there was going to be somebody there with the proverbial spear that would defend me, that would help me, that would take care of me until they're no longer there. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there wondering, well, there used to be 20 of them. Now there's only 5.
Yeah. So I've been one of the things I want to accomplish on this earth is to develop a better understanding of education and what exactly it means to society, and kind of move direct education, in a way that people can survive, and not only survive, but thrive with this basis of knowledge that we would give them. Teach people how to farm, teach people how to think critically, teach people how to have debates with others, teach people the aspects of spirituality, et cetera, to the point where if anything crazy happens in the future, a high percentage of any individual could build a society on their own, and they don't need help from others. And it seems like we're going in the opposite direction, where we're teaching people how to be reliant upon others. And that's the wrong way, I think.
Agree.
And that's the thing. If you asked a lot of people, and I've had to do this, and it's quite shocking, really. If you just present people with a problem and tell them, "Here's your problem, solve it," most of them just sit around and look for somebody else to do it. I mean,
Or
I
like
was
Google the answer, right?
exactly like I was talking to Tilo about this. It was when I had to do the leadership training.
Mhm.
The problem we were given was a charter school just hired you, and you have to come up with a plan that fits within CDC guidelines for COVID and how they have to run their school. That's it.
Hazmat suits.
Ironically enough, if we had the budget for it, that would have gone on the list.
Okay,
But
you didn't actually tell me what your budget was, so I just went for the first thing that I know would have dealt with the problem.
well, but the thing is, that's actually a viable answer. As long as I had the budget for it, yeah, that could technically be a viable answer. Or it could be something like, okay, well, we'll just make everything virtual. Does everybody have access to a computer? Well, elementary kids have access to an iPad. How much are parents paying for you to go to this charter school? It has to be enough to afford you an iPad.
Yep.
But the thing is, they don't give you any answers. They just tell you what the problem is, and it's up to you to fix it. It's up to you to find solutions. Most people, when faced with problems, don't think about trying to find solutions. And I noticed this. This is the reason I ended up getting stuck with the role of team lead. Wasn't because I had solutions. It's just because everybody else was sitting around looking at each other, expecting somebody else to come up with solutions. So the first person that talks, they immediately assume, oh, okay, that's the person that has solutions or ideas.
Yep.
I guess ideas would be the better aspect, because again, I didn't have any solutions. I didn't even necessarily have any ideas. My whole thing was, well, he said this. This is the problem. How do we fix it? All I did was reiterate the question. But once that happens, then all of a sudden people start talking. They start like, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. We start trying to figure out what's viable. That's how a real functioning society works. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't have that type of critical thinking skill where you don't have to know the answer. As long as you know what the problem is, you can find an answer, as long as you're able to think about it and you're able to act like a normal person.
Doku,
Yeah.
read your screen, mate.
Okay, from Sean. They tell you what the problem is and tell you the special kid the wrong answer to tell you.
He's not wrong, though.
He's not, though. That's the thing. I don't know why any of these people were looking at me like, oh, you're the leader now. It's like, why? But that's
okay.
But this is kind of my point, though. Sorry, so it's real quick, Teal. This is my point. Most people aren't even willing to talk. They'll just sit there and wait for somebody else to do it. And most people, like, we're lazy. Like, that's the thing. We're so comfortable with the positions that we're in, is that we won't even seek solutions to problems that are staring us in the face.
Again, read the screen, dude.
Yeah.
Just come off.
From Wood, most people are followers these days. They don't want to come. They don't want to come up. I'm guessing you said come up with their own solutions because they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. Dude, you're 100% spot on.
That's exactly what you just said. That's why I had to put it out there, mate.
It stems in fear. It's fear of being unaccepted or ridiculed by your society members.
Well, and Tilo, weren't me and you just talking about this earlier today?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
What I had said is the reason that I don't like being in positions of leadership isn't because I'm afraid of failing. If I fail and it's just me, I have no one to blame but myself. But if I'm in charge of a group and their success is determined based upon the decisions that I make, I now have a responsibility not only to myself, but to other people. And if I fail, that means they fail. And that's a responsibility I inherently don't like. I mean, I'll openly admit it. I do not like being put in those types of positions. I actively avoid leadership positions for that very reason. I would much rather fail myself, by myself, for myself, but I'm the only one that fails. But if I fail and somebody else is reliant upon my success or failure, like that's shitty. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want to do that.
Per that explanation alone, though, I think qualifies you to be at least a decent leader because you have that, right? Because
No,
you
you are
have,
correct. That part is completely right. Unfortunately, Doku, you get to be leader because you don't want to be leader.
it's ironic, right? It's
Mhm.
the irony of it all. But yeah, I think that your understanding of how your decisions impact the rest of the group and how everyone will be impacted makes you a good leader, which is, it's stage 2 logic, right? It's thinking beyond yourself.
Yeah. There is an upgrade to this, though, Doku, because at this point we're mentally treating you as leader. Okay, it also means that as leader, you actually get to decide who is sub leader. You give them whichever title you wish, doesn't really matter. And you can get them to actually do all the hard work. And they're going to agree with you because you're the leader. And the reason that is because humans automatically like to be led, whether they admit it or not. Even those that sit there and go, oh no, I'm the libertarian, I do my own thing, I do this, yeah, great, brilliant. You still actually enjoy being led as long as you're comfortable with what you're doing, you'll still go along with it.
Well, see
That
that's
is a
Yeah,
thing
I
that
agree with
humans do.
that. I
see
actually
that's
agree with that.
that's the funny part, though. Every time I've been put in a leadership position, I rarely have to actually do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people will figure out where they want to be and they'll do what they want to do. So it's like I'll have one guy like so using the example that I brought up, because this was a real thing.
Yeah.
This was part of my my leadership training. All I had to do was propose the question, or not even propose the question, but just basically reiterate what the problem was. And then I had one guy who immediately starts typing on the computer. I had two people at least start talking and bouncing ideas off of each other. I had the third person giving commentary. There was a fourth person that was doing research and then drafting things up for the charter. They all fell in line without me having to actually dictate to them. This
Do you
is,
know why?
it's because that's what they want to do. It's just
They
that's where
knew
they
that
felt.
they could hand it back to you if things weren't working, and so they felt comfortable doing it. They were happy following your instructions, even though there were no instructions needed. It's a natural
Okay.
human thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
But why? Are they more scared of being wrong than getting a good grade?
Yes,
well, and
actually,
also it's because that they know that they don't have to take responsibility. They
yep,
can pass the responsibility
It's
off to somebody else.
yep.
it's fear-based decision versus faith-based decision,
Right. Oh, I should possibly clarify that. Your use of the word fear does bring up certain. I think I understand where you're going. It is fear, okay, but it's because they would rather come across as doing the right thing because someone else told them to. It's not my job. Basically, I was just doing what I was told, which is a common excuse used by, shall we say, certain people do like to use that term. I'm not going to say that they were guards in about 1945 ish, but no, we don't need to say who specifically because I actually don't think it needs to be said. We all know exactly what I mean.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a there's
it.
a really interesting book called The Wave, which demonstrates that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna try and figure out who the author is, but basically the premise is uh, it's in a high school, and the teacher starts this fascist group and gets all the students to join in. And it originally starts as an experiment, but then little by little, everyone becomes so involved that even, the students who aren't participating in these new ideologies and thoughts, they'll get ostracized or even physically assaulted for not participating. And it just becomes an entity of its own. And
Do you
then
remember,
the
do
teacher
you
who
remember my
started it,
conversation earlier about other? That's exactly what I mean when I say other. If
yeah,
you're not part of the accepted group, which is what this group has become, you are other. If you are other, you are not wanted. If you are not wanted, go away one way or another. Or join us, one or the other.
But I mean
Opinions?
that
yeah.
is
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that is just kind of how societies work on a larger scale. It's just when we start taking things to extremes, regardless of what side of the spectrum or political compass that you're on, once you move to extremes, it n- nothing good ever comes of it. I can't think of anything that's come from an extreme or
Yep.
that was good at least.
Everything in balance. Everything. So, by the way,
Fair.
the book is called The Wave by Todd Strasser. It's the classroom experiment that went too far. It's a really good read.
Cool. Well, perfectly. If he explains it, that's all that matters. It's that people don't understand things and they refuse to accept. You sit there and you explain it to them, and they will sit there. No, you're wrong. Why? Well, if you can't work it out, i.e., they haven't been able to work it out, they haven't got someone they can fall back on to tell them why it's not working, which again proves my point about people require a form of leadership. And it's us unlucky tits that end up getting leadership dropped on them or just taken just because you sit there and you watch the incompetence in front of you. It's like, you're not doing a good job, mate. No, do this. And eventually the leader, assuming they aren't a total asshole, which unfortunately most of them are, and will try to keep the leadership even when the leadership doesn't actually work because they're idiots. A lot of them will actually back down to your suggestion. Usually they'll try and take you in as the air quotes advisor.
That's so you brought up something that makes me wish that I had access to a larger group. And yes, I know how many people follow me on Twitter, but that's irrelevant. I would love to ask this question just to see the responses that I get.
Mm-hmm.
You got stranded on an island. Nobody else, just you.
Okay. Awesome.
What's
I'm
the
alone.
what?
Sorry.
Yeah, I know you would say that, Jensen. But so you're stranded on an island. You have nothing really available to you as way as like tools go or anything. Like it's basically just you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's easy. I punch a tree until I get enough to make a pickaxe. Oh, sorry, wrong game.
It's not Minecraft, Jensen, damn it.
Had to be done, and you know it.
No, I
Oh,
know.
weirdly, actually, that is kind of what I was going for, and I agree, Shirati. I'd like more details about this island, if possible, please.
See, that's actually the first thing that I think a lot of people would do is like, okay, observe your surroundings. Like, what type of island? Is it a volcanic island? Is it tropical? Is it not? Like, what's the weather like? All of a sudden have to start asking these types of questions. Like, can I find fruit? Can I find food? Am I able to make a fishing line? Can I find something where I can build shelter? Do I have large palm leaves? Do I have something that I can use to make a fire with? I mean, all of these questions should come rushing into your head. And,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I think there's a significant amount of the population that would just stand on the shore and wave their hands, expecting that there's going to be a boat or an airplane to come save them, rather than observing your surroundings and figuring out, how do I survive? What do I do? Like, what resources do I have available to me? Because that's what you should start doing.
My suggestion, this is only a suggestion, 'cause after all, you didn't give any major details about the island. First thing you do is you build yourself a weapon of any type. You use a sphere, which is the standard, but you build yourself a weapon. you find some food, you find some water, and you find an area that is safe, and you can build a base in, i.e., somewhere you can rest. Once you've got that, you can then investigate the island.
Yeah,
That
I
is the
agree.
standard
with that.
start. Okay.
Are you with? Is there any other people on this island?
No, he actually declared it's just you that you know of. I think we're going to have
Yeah.
to go on to
Well,
the investigating the island first. Effectively, Doku, you're role playing. You're the ref. Go on, mate.
So
I'm
yeah,
investigating the island.
it's just you. Let's say you are as you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
You immediately find yourself. Let's just say it's a tropical island. So palm trees. Tropical island somewhere in the South Pacific.
Yep.
Immediately, what's the first thing you do?
Yeah, I would think about a source of water, probably. Like,
That's
how
the
can I?
difference. He'd go for water. I'd go for weapon.
Yeah, I would go for water before a weapon, I think, and then food. But inevitably, when then you start to think about food, you need something to. A lot of food comes from protein sources, animals. So you then get to the problem of, okay, how do I kill these animals to obtain food? And then you'd get to the weapon.
Fair. I went with the reverse version. I'd go for the weapon for the spearing of the fish. So you got food. Assuming tropical island, there's probably trees, obviously, so because you formed the spear. So you got those to make a fire. So you've got basically hot food, and if you've got a fire, you can boil the water, and you can actually purify the water and drink that. And there's your three most important things. Obviously, you then build. You're building your base for a secure location. If you've got any sense, you actually create a form of a moat around it, so as things can't get in until you can knock yourself off a palisade. Next.
Yep. Next.
I mean, neither of you are wrong, but this is what I would do.
But
First thing you do, check your pockets.
I can tell you exactly what I've got with me if you.
yeah, aren't we as we are?
Yeah.
Exactly. Check your pockets.
Well, right now, without even checking my pockets, I've got hanky, keys, survival tool. Yeah, that's right.
That's
sorry, dude.
convenient.
Yeah, no, I can without moving. I can tell you that is in my trouser pocket, right hand side.
See, that's immediately what you want to do. Check your pockets. See what you actually have on you. Make sure nothing that was swept away. Because I mean, those are aside from your hands, your feet, like your physical body, the things you have with you are going to be the things that that's your starting gear. That's what you got. If you have keys, if you can use that to strip bark. You can use that to whittle down wood. You can use that to make a spear. If you have a handkerchief, you can use that to tie it. I mean, what you have with you right then and there at that very moment, most people won't stop to think, what do I have with me? They'll just freak out and start waving and hoping that, again, a boat or an airplane is going to fly by. No, check your pockets.
Yeah. Shirati's come up with a suggestion. She doesn't have pockets. She's in pajamas.
Well, then you're going to have.
That's
then
it.
You're gonna have to
Game over.
Well, rip off one of the sleeves of your pajamas. You can use that as something to tie a rock to the end of a stick, and boom, you got a spear.
Yep.
Or a flag.
Or a flag. See, that's another thing you could do. Instead of sitting wasting all your time waving your hands at the ocean, plant a flag on the shore and hope that a boat or an airplane comes by. And see, there are things you can do.
Yeah, you can make organize the logs against the sand. SOS. Right.
Yeah.
Or you can use that fabric to make a improvised shelter.
Your concept is all well and good, but are you saying that I should use my T-shirt that says "fuck off" is a good way of getting the people to come and visit me?
Honestly, if your T-shirt said "Let's go, Brandon," I'm sure CNN will send a film crew there ASAP.
Oh yeah.
Oh great! I'm actually putting my safety in those incompetent idiots. Oh, I could always kill them, eat them, well known as cannibal. You ought to be told this much. Nick their boat and then bugger off in that. I like your plan.
To be fair, it is a viable plan.
Yeah, just start speaking against the narrative, and someone will show up.
Yeah, no, fair point, mate. All right. But you asked what I would do, that's what I would do. And so as you know, Tilo, I'm ex-military, that's why I would do the way I'm doing shit. Okay.
Well, cool.
But kind of the reason I asked that question is because there's no real right or wrong answer to it. It's just everybody's gonna have a different way of going about doing things, and they're gonna prioritize things differently. So when you're presented with that type of question, most people pause and stop and think. There's not going to be very many people that just immediately have an answer because they're not prepared to give answers because they're expecting somebody else to just do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then I have to ask, where does this ability to think critically come from? Why are some people more, they have that ability and some people don't? Why the separation?
For myself, it could be argued I was trained to. So I've actually had that before it. And in all fairness, I sat there having arguments with the trainers, but, that is what it is.
Honestly,
Doku?
I would say it does come from a sense that you've not been sheltered or taken care of. You've had to think about, like, well, if things really do go south, how am I going to take care of myself? You've been in a position where you faced real adversity.
Actually, yeah, you look at orphans, for example, and there's multiple different types of intelligences, right? And I guess you could separate book smarts from street smarts.
Yep.
To
Wood has it right, by the way. Why would you want to
got private
island?
island?
I mean, technically, once you plant the flag, then yes, I'm now a landowner. So
Yep,
it's kind of a valid point.
And you have now made it clear that there is no other humans on this island. Therefore, this island is mine. At that point, the logical thing to do is you find out what predators there are on the island, what insects there are on the island. Because let's face it, the thing that's going to kill you the most are insects.
I'm just imagining a person all happy, and then the camera zooms out, and the island's like a quarter of an acre in size.
I can still work with that. Now, with this island, Doku, question for you, mate. Are there any caves?
I don't know. You got to go explore the island.
I already did. I've already told you. I've got the basics. Now I'm investigating now. Are there caves? You tell me. Because if there are caves, there may well be bats. If there are bats, I'm laughing my tits off.
Oh, I know what joke you're going with, Jensen.
No jokes, actually. I'm being serious. First thing I do, let's assume that there is cave and there is bats, all right? I'm making a lot of assumptions here, so run with it.
All right, let's just say it's a volcanic island, in which case there would most likely...
God, thank you. You've made it life even easier. In that case, I'm going to go into the caves, and I'm going to be looking for the yellowy coloured rock and be taking a few bits of that. And then I'm going to go to where the bats are, under all their shit. Yes, it's a less than fun thing to do, but I'm scraping up some of the crystals there. Going outside, I will be keeping the yellowy powdered rock and the strange crystals well away from what I'm doing, but I'm actually burning some wood and turning it into charcoal. Do I really need to detail any further what I've just made, Doku?
No, you don't.
Okay, I can always give you the percentage if you need me to.
That'll be one bright fire, I can tell you that much.
Which means anything that attacks has now got to deal with explosives.
Yeah. Someone's been watching Dr. Stone.
Guano.
Someone knows how to do this. Someone actually did this for a living. That's why.
Yeah, it's quite amazing what you can do with sodium, a little bit of nitrate, but we can't talk about that because Mama Susan will get real mad. She'll get the big mad.
Yeah,
Why
but
do you think
anyways,
why do you think I said yellow stone and crystals and burnt wood. I never said anything, did I?
Yeah, fair enough. I guess I'm the one that dropped the ball on that one, so I will take Mama Susan's slaps.
Yeah, one moment. Nomad, look at your numbers again and tell me how 15 plus 15 plus 80 equals 100. Actually, Loafer, I was banned from chemistry. I accidentally almost blew up a class. Wood, yes.
Banned from chemistry.
And that's how you know you're good at doing something. And when you're good at doing something, you never do it for free.
Nope. Tilo, do you know how to make gun cotton?
No.
I found out the fun way.
Oh, I think
Yes.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yep, I accidentally made gun cotton, shoved it on the radiator to dry because it was too damp, and the teacher banned me from chemistry after seeing what I was up to. There were a few other things.
Are you saying gun cotton?
Yes, gun cotton. As in
So,
nitric acid, hydrochloric acid, cotton, and a couple of other things. But we were actually given that to play with in school. Mix these things together and see what happens, everyone. I didn't realise I had more things in my box of chemical to play with than anyone else had. All theirs just done was just fizzed and changed colours. Mine would have blown up.
man,
the
you know
sky.
what we did in chemistry? We mixed
Okay.
oil and water.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm saying they didn't
Yeah.
let us play with things like that.
Yeah, they didn't let anyone play with things like that after I did.
And also, just in case you had any curiosities about people saying that the United States public education system is an absolute laughingstock because it, well, doesn't teach kids anything. There you go. Because I guarantee you, and I can back up what Dilo's saying, I had more dangerous things in the chemistry set that I could buy over the counter from, well,
Walgreens.
Walgreens, a hobby store that sells puzzles, versus what we actually had in an actual chemistry lab with oversight.
We had a teacher tell us how to make what was it? Explosives using fertilizer bombs. There you go.
Yeah.
We was actually taught how to make fertilizer bombs
Chemistry
in
is
class.
awesome.
Oh,
Chemistry
mine
is so
was.
cool.
Yeah.
If you get a decent teacher who
Yeah.
understands the safety protocols, chemistry is so fun.
Oh, I understood it. I don't think he cared about it, but he understood it.
Well, again, that's the thing. As long as if you can,
That's true, I guess.
that's the
There's
thing though.
two-
As long
two
as you can
parts.
find droppings from animals that are high in nitrogen content, you can observe what they're eating. And that's an easy way to make a fire.
Yeah. Well, there you go, mate. That's how we're surviving on your desert island.
Or burning poop.
We're burning poop, but actually, to be honest, poop's probably one of the best things to burn anyway. But think about it, okay? If we've got bats, they can fly, which means we could use them as homing bats because they are naturally homing. They will come back to their colony.
You actually really could, especially if you figure out, like, all you got to do is just find something that's a bit of an ink, paint one of the wings, you know which one it is. Hey, you're good to go.
Yep.
See, this is why I like this exercise, because there's so many different ways, because I would not have thought of that. But again, you start thinking about, like, okay, what do I actually have to do to survive? And I stand by my point. Most people wouldn't think about this because, well, they're too busy eating chicken wings and staring at their big fancy metal picture box.
But me tendies. I want me tendies.
Yeah. What's an interesting McDonald's item that you have in the UK that Americans don't have?
We have something in England that you don't have.
At McDonald's.
Yeah, no, we don't. Okay. All right, going through, you've got obviously the standard burger, the cheeseburger. Is it cheese quarter pounder? Do you guys have that?
Quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah, we have that.
Okay. Obviously the Big Mac, because everyone's got that. Fillet of fish.
Yep.
Filet fish. Yep, we got that.
Okay. Veggie burger.
We don't have that.
Oh no,
Okay.
they did do oh, I know Burger King did the Impossible Whopper with that
Oh
not
god,
meat.
that's just criminal.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Sorry.
KFC also tried to do like the Impossible Nuggets with that weird spongy. Dude, if you're gonna eat plant-based things, just eat tofu. Like that Impossible stuff just looks.
What is
I
it
wouldn't
made
eat it.
from?
I have no idea, and I don't
Does
want to know.
anybody know?
It'd probably be spun protein.
Probably.
Bud protein, like from potatoes?
Well, possibly from potatoes or possibly from fungi, i.e., mushrooms. They've basically just respin it and then put flavoring in it to, as appropriate. Technically, you're still eating
Actually,
veggie food,
just
but
a
you think
regular
you're eating it.
mushroom, just a regular mushroom burger might not be so bad, but when you do all those extra steps,
Yeah.
You know, actually, I'm curious because I would be willing to bet that it's probably made from sorghum.
Do you think so?
It wouldn't surprise me. I'm gonna look it up right now. What is?
Yeah, what is the Impossible Burger made from? We all want to know. Nobody
Actually,
knows.
I kind of do now. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, theoretically, that's the food we have. Someone's messaging me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's made from soy and potatoes.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so they say what are the ingredients? It's protein from soy and potatoes, flavor from hime, Heme. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Mm.
Fat from coconut and sunflower oils that make it sizzle on the griddle. Can I just put that in the griddle? What is that? Never mind. Binders. They don't even tell you what the binders are. Oh, methyl cellulose. Wait, methyl cellulose. Hold on. I know what that is, but
I don't think it's as bad as it sounds.
It depends what it's added to. Methyl
Yeah,
cellulose, as I'm sure you can imagine, you can have all sorts of fun if you've got access to that.
True.
Okay, just saying. And it has been mentioned that we are likely to be banned for saying what I said about what we mix together to make certain things.
yeah. Well,
Do I care? No.
Susan can deal
Not in
with
the Ramparts.
You know, if this is actually what gets us banned, I'm gonna laugh.
Yeah. Because this is nothing in comparison to half the shit we've said, dude. Now is it? Let's be honest.
Oh, dude, they gave us a strike for a stream from someone who's no longer with us from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they waited 3 years to do it?
Yeah, it was like 3 years later.
Oh, they were just looking for trouble.
Oh yeah, no, they were. I will be honest. The said person we're talking about, he was. I'm trying to find the. What do you think would be a good way of saying it?
Toko's just giggling over there.
Yeah. I tell you what. For minimum use of words, trouble. Does that sound good to you, Doku?
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
I would say
difficult.
Unapologetic.
I like unapologetic. Most definitely. That really does apply for him. But yes, Wood, we are talking about Mad Dodge.
Oh, the thing is, they got us for Dodge and for Cabby. They got us for two. And it's like, of course, they picked the two people that are no longer with us because, of course, they can, because they can't, they can't be around to dispute it because, well, it's YouTube and they're apparently looking for a reason to ban us. And to that, I say, Mama Susan, fuck you.
Oh. That's
and
it.
thank you, Nomad, for clarification. He just sent me a message. All right. Well, gentlemen, I will be bringing this to an end. It is getting towards time. I do hope to see you again, Tilo. I actually enjoyed myself, and I hope you had fun listening to the absolute drivel coming out of my mouth.
This was good. I thoroughly enjoyed myself as well.
Oh, it's only going to get worse.
Oh, we don't care about you, Doku. You don't matter.
If you cared about me, I would actually start being very
Did I give you
concerned about
permission
your
to speak?
state of mind.
Did I give you permission to speak? I don't think I did.
Oh, do you want me to start singing?
Dep.
Now we are ready to head to the horn.
Shush. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, and whatever else you want to call yourself, I'll see you all next time. And don't forget, next stream we do, Doku will be singing live on stream. You might want to join in, or at least watch that, just for the sheer horror of hearing him sing.
No, I'm not. I'm not allowed to talk.
I will give you permission to
You are
speak
allowed
now.
to